Today's theme for Museum Week is #RainbowMW, and we're going to one of the most colorful places that I know of, Amsterdam's very own bathtub-shaped museum, the Stedelijk, or Amsterdam's Museum of Modern Art for non-Dutch speakers that can't quite figure out the IJ pronunciation. The Stedelijk Museum was founded in 1874 as a joint effort between the city authorities and private individuals. The museum was initially housed in the Rijksmuseum, but in 1895 it got its very own, very much non-bathtub-shaped building just a few minutes' walk from the Rijks. But by the beginning of the 21st century, the old building was, like everything else in Amsterdam, falling apart and apparently at risk of burning down. After a period of uncertainty, during which the old building was restored and construction of the bizarre bathtub-inspired building began, the museum finally reopened in 2012, and everybody in Amsterdam hopped in the tub to wash their souls with Warhol, Matisse, Appel, and Piet Mondrian. Contemporary art is filled with color, and the current exhibitions at the museum certainly didn't disappoint, checking off all the letters of Roy G. Biv. I don't know much about modern and contemporary art, so my visits to a museum like this usually consist of me looking at art strangely and asking myself, but what does it mean? But even though I never understand modern art, it's very visually stimulating for this museum goer. The Stedelijk Museum's got it all: sculpture, painting, neon lights, lookout point over the permanent collection that makes you feel like king of the world. One thing about contemporary art museums, they've certainly got their Insta game on point. Influencers, get at me for some backdrop inspiration. In keeping with today's rainbow theme, today's woman in culture is Frieda Belinfante. Frieda Belinfante is a badass lesbian Jewish woman of serious culture who was a Dutch resistance fighter. Before the war, she had studied at the Amsterdam Conservatorium and had been the first woman in Europe to be the artistic director and conductor of a professional orchestra, Het Klein Orkest, which would perform in the Concertgebouw, right next to the Stedelijk Museum. In 1943, Frieda, together with Willem Arendus, who was also openly gay, and Gerrit van der Veen, bombed the Amsterdam Civil Registry office in order to save other Jewish people in Amsterdam who were getting false identity cards made to stay alive. In order to evade the Gestapo, Frieda dressed as a man for 3 months, quite convincingly, I must say. She then went on after the war to be the founding artistic director and conductor of the Orange County Philharmonic Orchestra. Not only was Frieda a part of history, she inserted herself into the cultural environment of her new home and continued to enrich people's lives through music for many years. Thanks for coming along on that field trip with me, you guys. If you had fun on that adventure, go ahead and smash that like button down below. And if you want to come on more field trips with me in the future, go ahead and smash that subscribe button down there as well. This episode is brought to you in part by the Republic of Amsterdam Radio. They do an amazing podcast on the history of the Netherlands and a bunch of other really cool things. A link to their website and the podcast is just in my description below, so definitely go ahead and check them out. One last huge thank you to all of my patrons on Patreon. If you're thinking of becoming part of the online community of Dig It with Raven, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. The link to that is also in my description. Stay dirty, my friends.